I really love the idea that one of the things we're supposed to do is to encourage one another. It's when we absent ourselves, when we give up meeting together, we leave ourselves without a venue for offering encouragement. But as I said last time, most of the time in most of the churches I've ever been in or served, when it comes to church, well, that's not a good venue for this kind of encouragement, which doesn't make it invalid. It only means that if we're going to do this business, I'm going to call it business, of encouraging, then we've got to find venues where that can take place. And I think probably the best way I know of to find this venue is through relationships. When someone I don't know gives me a compliment, that's kind of nice. But when someone I know does more than just give me a compliment, what's more than that is that they encourage me. And that is best done in the context of a relationship. So, two things quickly, and then I'm going to get off this horse. One is be intentional about saying encouraging things. Okay? If you're one of those few people that I envy very much, and just encouragement just leaks out of you. I have a couple of friends like that, and man, when I get to spend time with them, I feel, well, encouraged. I'm really not one of those guys. I have to work at it, and in some situations I have to work harder than others, but it doesn't leave me without some responsibility here. The second thing I want to say is make sure you've got the relationships at work in your life where you can be encouraging. And for a whole lot of us, it means we're going to have to go out of our way. Living in Las Vegas, I think this would be true. I don't even know a place in Las Vegas it's not true of. You drive your car to your house, push the button, the garage door opener comes open, and even if you park outside, you just get out of your car, go in, the garage door goes closed, and that's it. We got 6-foot brick walls between our houses. All of that is symbolic of the fact that we probably are going to have to work harder to nurturing relationships, to initiating them. And if you're an introvert, I don't like this fact, because I'm kind of an ambivert. In certain times, I can be very outgoing and extroverted, but the older I get, the more I default toward introversion, hanging out with me, myself, and I, and Debbie, and the cat. That's pretty. I have to go outside my box, outside my comfort zone. You might need that too, but if we're going to be who Jesus said he intends for us to be as his church, as his family, as his body, I think we have to do that. Okay, let's move on. And now we're in the deep end of the pool. Verse 26. If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and of raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. What? You're not going to hear that preached about very often in American churches. We like our Papa God, who just, he just wants to make you happy. Well, no, it's not in the Bible. My happiness, your happiness, is essentially a byproduct of living my life, you living your life according to his design. When we intentionally, deliberately keep on sinning, there are consequences. Let me just talk about it from the human perspective. One of the significant consequences of deliberately keeping on sinning is that we create habituated patterns. In my mind, for Christian men, I'm not anybody to throw stones. I've had my own struggle here. But one of the reasons that pornography has such a grip on Christian men is that we started out, with the titillation and the whole attraction of that, and we thought, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but we did it anyway, and then we did it more often until it became a habituated pattern, and we felt hopeless and helpless against it. Hopeless? Been there. Helpless? I know the feeling, but the truth is there is hope, and you are not a hostage to this habituated pattern unless you want to be. Unless you want it more than being clean before God. So where does this kick in? It's not like if you deliberately sin once. No. If you deliberately keep on sinning, where's the line? How often, how many sins does that mean? I don't know. I'll tell you a story my dad used to tell, which I think may be more the issue here. So there was a king once in the old days whose castle was at the top of a mountain, and the road leading up to and down from was narrow. A little more room than was needed for the carriage of the king. Well, his driver passed away, and he was looking for a replacement driver for himself and for his family. So the word went out, and first guy that came in for the interview said, "King, I'm such a skilled driver that I can drive that carriage so close to the edge that it's kicking pebbles off into the valley below. That's how good I am." The king said, "Well, okay." Second guy came in and he said, "King, I have to be honest with you. You're going to probably need to replace the hubs of the inside wheels fairly often, because I will be so close to the inside, so close to the mountainside, that I will scrape those hubs because I want to keep your family as far from the edge as I possibly can." Well, guess who got the job? The guy that said, "You're going to have to put on new hubs." What's the point of that? The point is not how far can I go before it's too far. The point is, How do I keep from going in that direction? So for a follower of Jesus, first of all, I don't know where the line is. I'm not even sure there is a line. I do know this. There is a qualifier here that's very important. Deliberate sin. It's not like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's not like, ooh, I didn't realize. What have I done? No. It's like I knew it. I didn't care. I did it anyway. All I'm going to say about that is when we know the goodness of God, and as we learn of His design for our lives, doing things, living in such a way that we're on the inside of that road, not the outside of that road, it just makes sense. No sacrifice is left for those sins, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and of raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. There is a hell. People are going to go. There is a severe judgment ahead for all who deliberately sinned. And in my mind, the most serious deliberate sin is to say no to Jesus, to deliberately reject God's offer through Jesus. Verse 28, anyone who rejects the law of Moses died without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. That was the standard. How much more severely do you think someone deserves to be punished who has trampled the Son of God underfoot, who has treated as unholy thing the blood of the covenant that sanctified them, and who has insulted the Spirit of grace? Now we're talking about the most serious of rejections. They have trampled the Son of God underfoot. A horrible word picture. Who they've treated as an unholy thing, the blood of the covenant that sanctified them, as though it didn't matter. And who insulted the Spirit of grace. We most insult the Spirit of grace by rejecting Jesus and God's design. And then he goes on, and you probably, when I was in high school, we I can't remember, I think it was in our lit class, sophomore or junior year, we had to read Jonathan Edwards' sermon, Sinners at the Hands of an Angry God. And verse 31 was kind of the catalyst for that whole message. It is a dreadful thing to fall in the hands of the living God. The primary reason that God's design is, I don't want anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. And there's a reason for that, because otherwise they fall in the hands of a God who is just, and they will experience the most horrible form of justice. The reason I want people to know about the grace of Christ is because I don't want them to fall into the hands of the living God. I want them to be able to rest in the arms of the living God. Well, that's enough for today. See you next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.